Hey, this is Jeff Hansen in San Jose, California.
And this is Arvin Paredes in Los Angeles, California.
Hey, Arvin. Together we have a combined 40 plus years full-time real estate experience as licensed brokers in California. Topic today is what's the best CRM to achieve substantial success? The best CRM.
Okay.
Now, I heard once that success in real estate is meet as many people as possible and stay in touch forever. Meet as many people as possible, stay in touch forever. So the CRM is the way to stay in touch forever. So this is just going to be about which is the best CRM for your needs. We'll do another episode another time on how to leverage your CRM and get the most out of it. Make sense? And
Yep.
just an intro, years ago, I ran across customer management software that was called Goldmine. It was for sales in general, not just real estate. It was called, I used it for a while. It was called Goldmine because your database is your gold mine. Like if you're, that's why we call it prospecting. You're prospecting to dig for gold. Your database is your gold mine. That is what, if you're going to point out something that represents the health of your business, it's the relationships you have with people that are out there. So first off, let me just mention my idea of what you ideally you want in a CRM, and it could be we're going to talk about almost costing nothing to being quite expensive. At a minimum, you want a way to keep track of the people that you know with their contact information, name, email, phone number, birthday, and then notes about them. Those two things. The third thing is reminders for follow up. Now, add-ons might be some automated follow-up and other things, but at a minimum, you want contact information, continuing notes each time you talk to them, what their kids' names are, everything about them, their personal life. And then the third thing is a way to follow up and a system to follow up with them. And I've used tons of different, I'm not going to get all the ones I've used, but I'm going to suggest at the end a couple of suggestions I have based on your price range. And another great thing I heard once is that the best CRM is the one that you will use. That's the best CRM. Whatever you'll use is by definition the best. And if you're not going to stay in touch with people and follow up, it doesn't matter what CRM you use. It's worthless. I wouldn't spend a penny on it. Of course, you want to have success, so you want to stay in touch with people. So, what are your initial thoughts, Arvin?
I've only used two.
Makes
That's
it
what
easy.
we have with EXP right now, which is KVCORE, which I think is great. Um, and then with Keller Williams, that we when we were there was top producer. And I feel like both generally do, kind of similar things, have a different feel, different look. But I like, because KB Core is the most recent thing that I've used, it just seems like it's so modern and so much easier to use. And all the things I needed to do, it can do.
Mm.
And then as people that I stay in touch with, that I like to kind of have those birthday reminders for, that maybe I don't put every person's birthday reminder in the database. Every client that I've enjoyed working with, or that I feel like is a good person to stay in touch with, I've pretty much put in my Google Calendar.
Mm-hmm.
I so I have the reminders for their birthdays that pop up, and for me to text or call or email or whatever. And I just feel like the databases that we've used have been great for, the reminders of who's bought when, like just all those things. And if I didn't have that, I don't know how else I would really stay in touch with the people outside of my sphere, because Facebook will remind you who your connections are that you've helped buy, or whose birthday it is. Because a lot of times, even on social media, I've posted the people that I've kind of worked with, right? I've posted when we've closed on their first home, or anything like that. So yeah, what about for you?
Facebook is great for certain things. Not everybody puts their birthday in Facebook, I've noticed.
Right. Yeah,
So
they don't.
it is an easy reminder. The most powerful birthday reminders actually are people who are not in Facebook because you go out to prove it. But you just pointed out a few different tiers. Using Google Contacts is the most basic. It's essentially free, and that is better than nothing. Just having them in there. It does make it a little harder to categorize or send out a mass message.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, there'd be a way to send out to multiple people at once. And it doesn't naturally have a way. You don't go into a record in Google Contacts and have a way to follow up. But if your budget is zero, you probably shouldn't be in real estate. Just kidding. If your budget is very low, Google Contacts is better than nothing. You just have to have a separate system. It will remind you about birthdays, but other things like we talked today, I want to talk to them for the next once a month for the next 12 months, or I want to make sure I talk to them in tomorrow or 2 weeks or a year from now. Not ideal for that because you have to manually put it and then track it back to them. So I was kind of thinking in a couple different, well, and you mentioned a couple of things, Google Contacts, top producer. Um, I'll touch on each of those, but those don't have a way to access your MLS as far as sending out property updates, which you can also do with your MLS. But depending on your price range for what you want to invest in your CRM, you can have a way to also update people right from the CRM with current and sold properties, which is kind of ideal. So I'll start. Absolute budget basement would be just using Google Contacts. It's imperfect in many ways. I would say the lowest tier, which would be about $50 a month, is top producer, which you mentioned. I've had that. I've used others, but I've had that continually for over 20 years. And it's the pros and cons, and I'll ask you as well, but pros are it's very simple. The company's been around forever. It's probably not going out of business, which is a consideration. Also, it's not tied to your brokerage. I don't want a CRM that I have to
that's
use
true.
at a brokerage. When I was at Coldwell Banker and then Keller Williams, they offered certain CRMs. I didn't tap into those partially because they were tied into being a part of the brokerage. So top producer is great because it's simple. It's not super expensive, but it doesn't tie into, it doesn't have a lot of drip campaigns and doesn't tie into your MLS. What did you like or not like about top producer?
Well, I thought the drip campaigns that were there were good enough. I mean, I don't know how much else you like on top of birthdays and anniversaries and your market updates. Honestly, I think obviously the more, I guess, the more of that is great, but I think there is a good balance of, I mean, if you want to go maximum capacity of following up, I guess maybe it's not the best for that. But I think for staying just enough engaged on top of you making calls out of the blue and things like that, I thought it was great. And it wasn't super hard to use either. When we at Keller Williams, when they had that the database thing that we were the CRM that we were using, so clunky. It wasn't super intuitive. Definitely harder to kind of to navigate for some reason.
Yeah. So I've tried a lot of them. I would say for pretty budget conscious, top producer is a great choice. Around 50, they have different plans, but around $50 a month. I'll get to if you're going to invest more money, but a mid-tier one, which you're less familiar with, but I actually like quite a bit, and I've used in different times. I've played around with different CRMs, and that's actually, this sounds funny, but it's one that comes with a membership with by referral only. By referral only is about $200 a month and includes lots of education and a range of things. In addition, it includes a CRM that is quite simple, totally web-based, and does have some good follow-up plans and ways to stay in touch with people that are automated and written for you. That is great for your sphere, where you just don't have to overthink it. You just set it and it goes, and people like it. So it's not 200 a month for the CRM. It's 200 a month to have the CRM. I actually know two different agents who continue to be a part of Bar Referral Only just because they like the CRM so much. It is tied to that company, but of course, each of these are tied to the company. And then the other tier, I would say, if you're going to spend more money, I know agents that have had success with different things. I did a bunch of research recently, and two that I think are very good. They're actually now the same company, which is KVCORE and BOOMTOWN. The company that owns KVCORE Inside Real Estate just acquired BOOMTOWN, so they're actually the same company. They have very different products, but they're both great in different ways. The cost is different. These are in the range of maybe 500 to 1,000 a month. Great because within the contact, you send updates on properties. And when they look at a contact, it reminds you and says, oh, you had a contact that just looked at this. So you can instantaneously send messages to them. You can send text messages from the CRM, which is really powerful. These are more costly, but you have a lot of more interaction with them as far as property updates and campaigns that are preset that are strong and have good follow-up. BOOMTOWN is interesting because you also can have a concierge, which is someone that calls on your behalf to follow up with leads. And both KVCORE and BOOMTOWN also have the ability for you to spend money to either promote a specific listing or just advertise for online leads. And they're both different pros and cons, but they're both good for that. So that's a way to get if you don't know when to figure out how to do online lead generation, you can just pay them money and you'll see leads drop into your system that are real people and great to follow up with. Now, one caveat about price is both you and I are with eXp Realty, and being a member of eXp, or I'm sorry, an associate with eXp, we get the full-blown version of KVCORE included in our $85 a month. So it's the best value for someone that's with eXp, almost a reason to join the company for that reason. But that's unusual just for agents within our company. But even if you paid the probably $500 a month to be a part of KVCORE, I think it's fabulous total solution. And then BOOMTOWN's a little more expensive, and especially for teams, but even for an individual, it's on the pricier end, but incredibly powerful. The other thing I'd mention is whatever CRM you're using, back it up often. You also don't want to be stuck to CRM. I mean, you get embedded in it, but if they change their business practice or change their rates drastically, you want access to your data so you could transport it somewhere else.
Yeah, well, so here's another point. I mean, this is going a little longer than we usually go, but if you mentioned some other CRMs where it's a constant kind of lead generation, then it manages those leads, right? It stays in touch for you. It does kind of all the things that you'd want it to do to stay in touch and stay top of mind. But as far as getting your people from your original databases, your earlier databases, your current databases onto these new CRMs, are you merging everybody onto these lead CRMs because they can take on new contacts, or are you maintaining multiple databases and trying to hopefully make sure that those programs are working at the same time?
Right. Well, my 2 cents is it depends on where you're at in your career. I've been a realtor for 29 years and I've used top producer this whole time, so I haven't changed. It's not the ideal thing because I can afford something a little more expensive, but I have so many people in there, I don't want to import every one of those over to something else.
Got it.
So it's really kind of whatever works for you. If you're starting new, I would say it depends a little bit on your budget for what you want to invest, and kind of stick with that one, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
part of this depends on if you want to do a lot of online lead generation, then you probably want something that is more interactive, like Market Leader. I used Market Leader before. I I wasn't a huge fan of their interface, but something like Market Leader or KVCORE or BOOMTOWN.
Okay. Cool.
And ideally put everybody in one database and back up regularly. But we'll have another video talking about how to maximize it, get the most out of it, and stay in touch with your people. But use something, even if it's not the perfect one for now, even if it's a Google contest, get something in there, start talking to people. Right, Arvin?
Yep. That's a good advice. I actually heard this other agent where very top producer, he has just a Google spreadsheet of all people that he talks to 4 times a year, no matter what. So like just kind of even your core group of people, having them on a list and making sure you're looking at it, every day, or it's in front of your face in your office, whatever it is.
Sometimes simple is easier. Simple is easier.
Yeah.
It could just be written down in a notebook. Whatever works for you, that'll get you to call people. It does limit a little bit when you want to grow your business more, staying in touch in a more diffuse way, but whatever works, just do something, and definitely use a CRM that your budget will allow. Right on. That's all for now.
Cool.